This is the age of dying democracies, artificial intelligence, declining intellect, and corrupt powers. The countdown is on. We are now in the 24th hour.
We are back again. This is episode 5 of the 24th hour. You know who I am, Michael P. America. And guess what? Our subject today, look up top, and you see Black Inventors. Not going to take too much of your time. Yes, on the bottom, you still see it where it says the death of American democracy. And I believe they kind of go hand in hand. I think there's a lot more to it. So the reason why I'm going to talk about Black inventors today is that I think that most people, and including Black people, and this is kind of sad, but they don't really consider the fact that you have Black American intellectuals. Now, you've heard about African intellectuals, and of course, over time, they're whitewashed. And we know this is done intentionally. We know that. But the everyday person isn't looking to assign a color to anything. And those who are not racist, i.e. evil, they're not looking to assign a color to man's achievements. However, we've all been programmed. We've all been whitewashed. And that does serve the empires that are in power. So, as a Black person, you ask this question: do they fear you? If they do, why do they fear you? They hate us. Why do they hate us? These are questions that run through your head at times. When you're a Black person in America, and probably in Europe too, I was trained not to see color, but around me were people who were trained to see color. And color was always somewhere in the conversation. And usually, in my early days, it was always negative. And that Black people needed to be thankful for white people bringing us civilization. These are things that we heard in school at quite a young age. So imagine that, right? I had a strong family, so we didn't buy into that. But a lot of people may not have a family that was as educated as mine. I had toys, but then I had a lot of books that were my toys. So I learned to read early, and I learned about various different subjects. But many people, Black and white, do not have that. They will learn more about the trade of their family. They will learn more about their family and the predisposition of culture. But intellectualism is not something that people grow up with. Most people grow up with. Some of us do. Okay. There's a role for everybody. Not everybody is going to be a plumber. Not everybody is going to be a scientist. Not everybody is going to be an athlete, a star athlete. Not everyone is going to be a king. Not everyone's going to clean your sewers, you know? We all have a role. We all contribute. And hopefully we contribute for the better. So then, getting back to the question, what is it? Then I start to look at it, and you realize it's more about the evolution and slowing it down. devolving, or as I like to say, de-evolving, which we know it's evolving. But that's my thing, okay? Because I believe it's two steps forward and then 3 steps back whenever it suits them. Anyway, there's much more to this, okay? We can be a nation without the haters, but I believe they can't be a nation without us. Because hatred leads to destruction. And all people do is, when they hate, they destroy stuff. They just focus on themselves mainly, their own psychological and social predisposition. They're focusing on that. They're not going to create. They're going to take 2 rocks and bang it together. Everything they do is going to be based on violence. Just like the administration we're hearing right now, trying to tell you that war is the nature of man. When we know war is not the nature of man, war is a corrupt nature that man has acquired as the altered state. But someone who has a barbaric mentality, destruction is their passion. Being sadistic is their passion. Chaos is their passion. But I'm not going to do that tonight. All right? Well, kind of. I'm not going to go there. So, consider this. That the spirit of hatred seems to be ingrained in a certain tribe, which is probably a predisposition. I don't believe it's genetic. Predisposition. Okay? And right now, it seems like that tribe is running things. And so, we here in America and around the world are feeling their chaos. They don't really have a plan to make things better. They have a plan to disrupt. And in that disruption, they're looking for the power. But, you know, this one-eyed racist monster, green monster, whatever you want to call it, jealousy, envy, spite, it keeps resurfacing. And it leads me to believe that it's being manipulated and strategically used for the benefit of the super wealthy, because division, they keep us fighting, they can grift. They keep us fighting, they can steal, they can take. They're going to lie, they're going to spread propaganda, but they're going to keep us at each other's throats. And so me personally, I believe live and let live. I can't get behind live and let die. And my mother used to say something wonderful. My mother used to say, if you can't get along, then get away. Think about that. The other part of this, and this is kind of an inspirational part that I like, and it goes like this. If you can believe, you can fly. And I'm not trying to be R. Kelly here and saying, I believe I can fly, and, a Michael Jordan thing. But it translates into, you can do it. You are capable. And so I grew up many years listening to all this crazy, insane, racist stuff. Just insane. Watching people justify their hatred towards their brother and sister. Coming out of the civil rights era, there were many adjustments being made to get us to the point where we could have democracy, because the civil rights era really gives us a shot at democracy. People don't understand that. And the civil rights era is really the human rights era. So civil rights sounds, okay, civil rights. Give you a little clinical law. It sounds civil, and your rights under the civil code, under the Constitution. But when we talk about human rights, we start talking about atrocities committed on a world scale, on a global scale. And then there's tribunals, and are you an actual war criminal? So the atrocities that they inflicted on people of color are war atrocities. But you're going to call it civil rights, because if you call it human rights, then now you yourself, who was part of developing the Hague, becomes somebody on trial. And so they're not going to do that. So they made sure these guys that controlled the sociological or sociological narrative, propaganda, and agenda, that we wouldn't call it human rights. And so it's like, well, it's civil rights, so it's none of your business how we treat people of color. It's civil. When you say human rights, it becomes everybody's business. All right, so I'm not going to belabor that point. But it is time to really rethink us as a nation and us as people of color, who we really are. And I believe some of the things that we're dealing with right now is the fact that the truth is coming out and it's scaring them to death. We have so much access to so many things: truth and lies, propaganda, brainwashing, soul searching, the whole nine. We have so much access that I believe that they have to muck it all up so we're confused. And they know that most people, the herd, always follows the ass in front. Think about that. Remember the days of, she's got a nice ass. He's got a nice ass came later. But it was, she has a nice ass, and that went on forever. And then all of a sudden, they started saying, well, he's got a nice ass. And then you're going, where are we going with that? And so it seems like we're focused on the superficial, but it's really one big mind job. I'll never be your beast of burden. Popular song. The wealthy look at people as a beast that is supposed to bear their burdens, so they don't have to. Never be your beast of burden. My Native American relatives used to run the buffalo off the cliff. Why? Because they were going through so many weapons just trying to stop one. If you've ever seen a buffalo, you know they're massive. They're huge. You have special guns for moose, elephants, buffalo to take them down. And then one of them figured out, they follow the one in front. And then somebody else said, well, if we run them off the cliff. And somebody asked, how's that work? Because they always follow the ass in front of them. They had hamburgers for days. They had all the leather they needed. When they figured that out. And the wealthy have figured that out. Keep man on a superficial note. Keep him thinking superficial. They inject a lot of things for their amusement, and they laugh at us because we don't figure it out. Because people normally aren't warped like that. Most people aren't into screwing their brothers and sisters. Most people are trying to do good. They might be afraid, and they may believe that putting your head down so that nobody sees you is going to allow them to get away. But we know ultimately destruction, you don't stop it. It just goes off the rails. As Clint Eastwood used to say, man's got to know his limitations. Man doesn't know his limitations. He runs himself or anybody else until he drops, or until he feels pain. So that's why they run other people, so they don't have to feel the pain. All right, so let's talk about inventions by African Americans. We have contributed more, much more, than you will ever know to the world. So we're not just athletes. They love the slavery thing because you were the beast in the fields. But here's the other thing about slavery. They were taking slaves out of Africa since 1400s. For you Bible heads, 400 years. And you know what that argument's about. Anyway, nobody is going to steal people that don't know anything. Nobody's going to do that. They won't get anything done. Nothing gets built. They can tell you that these people didn't know what they were doing, but then you're going to have to train them to do the work. And sure, hundreds of years, you could finally get down to what they would like to call the drones, the non-intellectuals, the working class. But that's because you created your own working class. You cultivated a working class after enslaving and killing off intellectuals. And, they did this in so many different ways. The brutality of slavery is ridiculous. So the orange guy in the White House who talks about they only mention the bad things about slavery because there was nothing good about it. There was nothing good. And judging by your mentality, if that were you, you'd probably would have killed everybody by now. But we're a different kind of people. That's not who we are. They've tried to make us that way. And, they got a few. But most of us aren't that way. And that can be said about all people, all nationalities. You have a lot of decent people. We just have to get to them and get their voice heard. So, Roy Atkins. I'm just going to kind of blow through this. I'm not going to do them all. Excuse me. His name is Rodney Atkins. And made a mistake. It's the first African American to serve as a senior vice president at IBM and help develop the IBM ThinkPad. So we're not just talking about old accomplishments and innovations. Current ones, and ones that we're still using. His occupation was electrical engineer. Mr. Edward Alcorn invented a method of fabricating and imaging X-ray spectrometer, or spectrometer, excuse me. His occupation was physicist and inventor. Okay? Archie Alexander, civil engineer, responsible for the construction of many roads and bridges, including the Whitehurst Freeway, the Tidal Basin Bridge, and an extension to the Baltimore-Washington Parkway. Virgie Amons, listed as an inventor, filed the fireplace throat damper patent on August 6, 1974. Harold Amos, microbiologist, first African-American department chair at Harvard Medical School. James Andrews, mathematician, put forth the Andrews-Curtis conjecture in group theory with Morton L. Curtis, and it's still unsolved. And if you don't get it, mathematician. Leonard Bailey. A lot of you probably use this collapsible folding bed. For the cabinet folding bed forerunner to the Murphy bed, which in the old days they loved those things. I love them, and I think they're really cool. And that was originally, then it was patented by Sarah E. Good not then. It was originally patented by Sarah E. Good in 1885. And Sarah's on this page too. Okay? Collapsible folding bed. Sarah and the Murphy bed, right? I wish apartments would build that in now because those things For me, they're the bomb. Augusta Ball, okay? Augusta Ball, chemist, developed a technique to make I'm going to see if I can pronounce this right, Chalmugra oil, injectable and absorbable for the first effective treatment of Hansen's disease, quotations leprosy. Chemist. Benjamin Banneker, almanac author and surveyor, farmer, constructed wooden clock. Astronomer, assisted in the survey of the original boundaries of D.C., District of Columbia, authored a series of almanacs, right? And recorded observations on emergencies of periodical cicadas and the behavior of honeybees, and so much more. All right? So much more. So I'm just kind of going through these. I'm not going to go through all of them because there's a lot, okay? A lot of black inventors, right? Augustin Banyaga worked on dimorphism. Yeah, these are some words here, right? Symplectomorphisms. And Augustine was a mathematician. So I'll leave that to the experts to break that down for anybody who really wants to know. All you got to do is read about them, okay? Janet Bashan, inventor, entrepreneur, professional consultant, first African-American woman to receive a patent for a web-based software invention, link line, and equal employment opportunity case management and tracking software. You know it's still in play today, probably different variations of it. Trisha Bath, first African-American female physician to receive a patent for medical inventions that relate to cataract surgery, right? And include the laser, I'm going to try to pronounce this, looks like laser phaco probe, which revolutionized the industry in the 1980s, and an ultrasound technique for treatment. So I think you guys are starting to catch my drift here. Andrew Baird, farmer, carpenter, blacksmith, railroad worker, business inventor. The Janney Coupler improvements invented the car device, patent number 594059, dated November 23rd, 1897. 1897. Rotary engine patent number 478271, dated July 5th, 1892. Rotary engine patent. Earl Bell, inventor, entrepreneur, architect, industrial designer, invented the chair with sliding skin and the quantitative display apparatus. Inventor, entrepreneur, architect, industrial designer. Okay? Miriam Benjamin, inventor, educator, invented gong and signal chair for hotels. She is the second African American woman to receive a patent. Leonidas Berry, gastroenterologist. Excuse me, guys. I know I'm killing it. Okay. Gastroscope pioneer. Okay. Keith Black, neurosurgeon, brain tumor surgery and research. All right. David Blackwell, first proposed the Blackwell channel model used in coding theory and information theory. Okay. One of the eponyms of Rayleigh-Blackwell theorem, which is a process that significantly improves crude statistical estimators. So this is a mathematician, mathematician, statistician. Henry Blair, inventor. Second black inventor to be issued a patent. Invented seed planter and cotton planter. Okay. Awabena Bolhen, I'm probably killing the name. Bioengineer. Silicone retina able to process images in the same manner as living retina. Wow, that's pretty interesting. Sarah Boone, inventor. Iron board, allowing sleeves of women's garments to be ironed easier. And then I'm going to do just a couple more. I believe it's pronounced Edward Bochette, a physicist. First African American to receive a PhD in any subject, received physics doctorate from Yale in 1876. James Bowman is a physician, pathologist, and geneticist. Professor Emeritus, Pritzker School of Medicine. First tenured African American professor at the University of Chicago, Division of Biological Sciences. Otis Boykin, artificial heart pacemaker control. Okay. And I'm going to do one more. That's going to be Herman Branson. Herman Branson's a physician, World War I veteran, military physician who served in the 93rd Infantry Division. And the list goes on and on. So we are not just athletes. We are not just security guards. We're not just janitors. We are like everybody else. We have some extremely exceptional people, and we could have more if we didn't believe all the stereotypes that are not only feeding the white world, but us too. So like the man said, if you believe, you can fly. So that's really when I wanted to have this conversation. If you really want to know about black inventors, go look them up. And then print those pages out, keep them. Nobody can take away what you're capable of. And my message to the rest of America is, we all contribute. Don't let anybody tell you that there's only one small group of people contributing. And don't let them tell you that only those who have wealth are contributing, especially when, especially when we're the people who aren't wealthy are doing most of the work and getting smaller pieces of the pie, and they're getting smaller every day. I'm Michael P. America. We're in the 24th hour. Why do we want to keep democracy? Why do we want to make democracy better? Because the alternative is absolute destruction. The alternative is the end of humanity. So, thank you for joining me. I'm not going to keep you anymore. But we all contribute, and we can continue to contribute, and we can make it better, but it's not going to happen if we're fighting each other. And the other thing I wanted to say is that moving forward, even though it's not popular yet, the way to get our democracy is a strategy of peace through nonviolence. It's not peace through war or peace through strength. Strength is the ability to endure using nonviolent methods. Cowards always seek to have somebody else fight their battles. And that's what they're proposing. Because all they're going to do is start wars, increase the prison planet, increase the slave population, and more families are going to be destroyed. Of course, they want that too, because they want the population to go down. At some point, they're going to give us a 9/11. They're going to give us a war call, and we need to get ahead of that because it's coming. I'm Michael P. America. This is the 24th hour. God bless.
The 24th hour.